Hello and welcome to Storytime. I am your Storytime reader, Ms Nikki. I hope you all are doing well and keeping healthy. Today's read aloud is titled Be the Change, a Grandfather Gandhi story. You may have heard or read this quote before, "Be the change you wish to see in the world" by Mahatma Gandhi. It is one of my favorite quotes. Some of you may be wondering, who is Mahatma Gandhi? He is one of the most important leaders and champions for social justice in the world. His principles and firm belief in nonviolence have been followed by many other important civil rights leaders, including Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela. Before we begin to read, let's look at the cover. This is Mahatma Gandhi, and this is his grandson, who is also the author of this book, Arun Gandhi. So Arun Gandhi writes a personal story about an important lesson his grandfather taught him. As I read the story, I would like you to think about the theme of the story. We know that the theme of the story is the message or lesson the author wants you to learn. There are a lot of common themes in books we've read, like perseverance, acceptance, courage, friendship, honesty, and love, to name a few. These are key themes we read about often. In order to determine the theme of this book, I want you to think about these two things. One, how the character or characters change or grow. In this case, how did Gandhi's grandson, Arun, change or grow? And two, what does the author, Arun here, wants you to learn about? He shares a lesson he learned from his grandfather with the readers because he wants us to learn from this lesson too. Okay, so think about the theme as you listen to the story. Let's begin. Be the Change, a Grandfather Gandhi story, written by Arun Gandhi and Bethany Hegedus and illustrated by Turk. The world knows him as the Mahatma, great soul. To me, he is grandfather. Life at the Sevagram Ashram, grandfather's service village, revolved around the sun. Before daybreak, we left our beds. All 350 followers gathered for the morning prayer meeting. Peace descended on us like the rays of the sun. All religions were welcome. The purpose of ashram life was to live simply and non-violently. Each day was filled from sunrise to sunset with service. The ashram worked as one, washing clothes, planting vegetables, picking fruit, spinning yarn. Anything that needed doing was done for the good of all. Grandfather had dubbed our work Experiments in Truth. There were 11 vows of ashram living. The one I found the hardest was the vow not to waste. And it was an important one, a cornerstone of grandfather's teachings. I wasn't sure how not wasting food or other items made life non-violent, but I did my best to follow the path put before me. Babuji said I would understand in time, but I had already lived at Sevagram for more than a year. Soon Grandfather asked that I accompany him to Pune. I was happy to get the break from ashram life, from waking early and working hard. But at the Nature Cure Clinic, our routine was much the same vows, the same self-discipline. When grandfather talked, thousands came, overflowing the gardens. People young and old spilled into the streets. I stood with them and listened as he spoke about satyagraha, passive nonviolence. When nonviolence is accepted as the law of life, it must pervade the whole being and not be applied to isolated acts. Bapuji said, "How was I to understand that? It hurt my head to even think about." Yet, when grandfather spoke, something in me stilled, even if afterward my thoughts grew cloudy. One afternoon on my way home from lessons, I'd had enough. As I walked, I tossed my nubby pencil in the air, tired of my vow not to waste, tired of not understanding. It bounced into the grass. I left it there, on purpose. That evening, I asked Babuji for a new pencil. "This morning you had what appeared to be a perfectly good pencil," grandfather said. "It was too small. I threw it away," I argued. I didn't share what I was really thinking. I was a Gandhi. Didn't I deserve a new pencil? "It was not too small this morning," grandfather smiled, his toothless grin. "And what of your vow?" "The one not to waste?" I stared at my sandaled feet. A vow is a promise to yourself before it is one to others. "Why is a nubby pencil so important?" I asked. "It is not the pencil, but you that is important." Babuji patted my shoulder. Babuji was talking in riddles. Why wasn't there a simple explanation? He walked me to the door. "You will have to go and look for it." Would I really have to search for a nub of pencil? "But it's after dusk." "Good thinking, Arun. You will need a torch." He handed me a flashlight and pointed me toward the night. I set off into the dark. My face burned with shame. Grandfather had already taught me so much, and here I had more to learn. I was a disappointment to him, to myself. I retraced my steps, past the bench with the broken leg, past a pack of stray dogs. I stopped when I came to the scrubby grass that I'd cut across hours earlier. Kneeling, I ran my fingers through the coarse stalks. Nothing. Above, the stars seemed to mock me. Find it, they twinkled, taunting. Finally, after hours of searching, I found it. I stuffed the pencil in my pocket and trudged back to grandfather's cottage. "Did you recover the pencil?" Bapuji asked when I returned. I had, but I still hadn't discovered what waste and nonviolence had to do with each other, or what they had to do with me. That night I wrestled with my thoughts. How could throwing away a pencil hurt anyone? It made no sense. Why couldn't I understand? We returned to Sevagram. There grandfather set out to teach me the deeper meaning of the rule not to waste, just as monsoon season had come. The skies erupted. For days on end, the rains beat the dry, cracked ground. The earth became messy, and muddy as I struggled with how waste and violence were connected. Grandfather sat with me for an hour a day, as busy as he was. Waste is a violent action. When resources are low, people hoard. Those who are forced to do without may eventually strike out. Fighting occurs, he said. Did you want any of that when you threw away your pencil? I didn't. Is this why we spun? Why we made our own cloth? Grandfather suggested I make a tree of violence, with violence as the trunk and physical violence and passive violence, the kind that looks like it hurts no one, as the branches. Before you act, think how it would affect others, he said. Who would it hurt? You? Someone else? The earth. Does hurting the earth hurt us? Together we created a tree and pasted it on the wall. Each day I added my thoughts and actions to it. Grandfather would come by my hut and he'd watch my tree grow. When I wasn't sure where to place something, he helped me decide if the thought or action was passive violence or physical violence. As the monsoon rains renewed the earth, my tree grew and grew. Both branches were heavy with leaves, but the passive side became enormous. Soon I could see how throwing away my pencil could hurt others. More graphite would need to be mined for a new pencil. Trees would be cut down, land would be stripped bare, villages would be lost. Were my wants, like the one for a new pencil, more important than the needs of others? I saw how kicking and shoving led to rioting. I saw how violence led to more violence, how wars led to more wars. Like the soaking rains that turned the musty earth lush and green, new growth finally sprouted in me. I was responsible for my every thought and action. Yes, but I was also responsible for the thoughts and actions of the world. To change the world, I needed to change myself. As the rains trickled to an end and the sun returned, Grandfather took my hand. We walked amid the hustle of ashram life, new planting, chores, prayers, work. Grandfather had a saying. He had said it to many, and now he said it to me. Be the change you wish to see in the world, Arun. And with Grandfather as an example of being the change for himself and others, I would. A note from the authors. In the United States, we throw away $120 billion worth of food annually. One time, when children were asked how many people could be fed with what we waste, a child bolted to his feet and said, "A zillion." Instinctively, children know that change is needed in the world. They want to make a difference, collecting coins to donate, feeding the hungry, inventing technologies that benefit humanity. Whatever a person's own unique tools and talents are, they can be used to be the change we want to see in this world. That's why we created the Be the Change pledge. We hope you will not only take the pledge, but also live the pledge. We can all be the change together. The end. So what is the theme of this story? Did the quotes in the book help you with the theme? How did the character and author Arun Gandhi change and grow? I will let you think about that and hope you get to have a good discussion with family or friends. I look forward to reading to you again soon. And remember to keep changing, keep asking, keep growing, keep smiling, and keep shining your light.